let's talk about the water in your glass. I mean, have you ever really thought about the incredible story it has to tell? It's a journey that connects your kitchen sink to the deepest parts of the ocean and even the very air you're breathing right now. So let's dive in and trace the path of this planet-spanning system, Earth's incredible water engine. No, really, take a second. Where has that exact water been? It might have been rain falling on a distant mountain, or maybe it flowed through miles of underground caves. Heck, it could have been part of a massive ocean current just a few decades ago. It's all part of this continuous, absolutely epic global cycle, and today we're going to follow its journey. You know, when you look at all the water on Earth, the big picture is, well, it's kind of shocking. A whopping 97% of it is saltwater. That leaves just this tiny little sliver, 3%, as freshwater. That's everything we have for drinking, for growing our food, for, well, living. It really makes you realize that understanding its journey is a pretty big deal. So, to start a journey this massive, where do we begin? Well, we don't need to look at the whole globe just yet. We're going to zoom all the way in and start right in our own backyard. Let's call it your water neighborhood. Here's a cool fact for you. Every single one of us, no exceptions, lives in a river basin. It doesn't matter if you can see a river or not. For example, if you live somewhere like North Carolina, the rain that hits your roof eventually makes its way into a small creek, then a bigger stream, and finally into a river that flows all the way to the Atlantic. Whether you realize it or not, you're part of that system. So, a river basin is basically a giant funnel shaped by the land itself. Gravity does all the work. It collects every drop of rain and snow and channels it all towards one single exit point. You can almost think of it as your local water address on a planetary scale. Pretty neat, right? Okay, so you've probably also heard the term watershed, and people tend to use them interchangeably. But there's a simple difference. A watershed is like your local neighborhood. It's all the land that drains into a single little creek. A river basin, on the other hand, is the whole city, made up of thousands of these smaller watersheds, all feeding into one giant river. But wait, not all the water runs off into rivers. A huge amount actually seeps down, deep into the ground, filling up the cracks and spaces in the rock and soil. That's our groundwater. And these underground layers that hold it are called aquifers. They are these massive hidden reservoirs, basically acting like a giant natural sponge that stores and purifies our precious freshwater. All right, so our water has traveled through its local neighborhood, the river basin, and finally emptied out into the ocean. What happens then? This is where our story goes from local to truly global. It hooks into something massive, something called the Great Ocean Conveyor. Now, you'd think that the engine driving all the oceans on the entire planet would be insanely complex. But what's amazing is that it all boils down to just two really basic things: how cold the water is and how salty it is. That's it. Temperature and salinity. They are the keys to the whole operation. So here's how it kicks off. Way up near the poles, the ocean water gets incredibly cold, and when sea ice forms, it pushes the salt out, which makes the water left behind extra salty. This combination, super cold and super salty, makes the water incredibly dense. And what does dense stuff do? It sinks. This sinking action works like a giant plunger, pushing the deep water out of the way and starting a journey that can take 1,000 years to make one full loop. This whole process has a name, the Global Ocean Conveyor Belt. And honestly, the best way to picture it is as the planet's circulatory system. It's this huge, slow-motion river flowing within the ocean, constantly moving water, heat, and nutrients all around the globe. Okay, so we've got this gigantic, invisible system churning away in the deep ocean. Cool. But why does it matter to us here on land? What's the connection? Well, it turns out the system is absolutely crucial to our daily lives. Probably the most important job this conveyor belt has is managing the Earth's climate. The ocean soaks up a ton of the sun's heat, especially around the equator. These currents then take that warm water and move it towards the poles. It's literally a global heating and air conditioning system, keeping the poles from being impossibly frigid and the tropics from being unbearably hot. You want proof? Just look at this. It's wild. London and Calgary are at almost the exact same latitude, so they get the same amount of sun. But check out their winter temperatures. London is so much milder, and it's all thanks to the Gulf Stream, a warm current that acts like a giant hot water bottle, carrying tropical heat all the way across the Atlantic to Western Europe. And it's not just about temperature. This whole conveyor belt is a delivery service for the entire planet. It moves the nutrients that marine life depends on. It carries oxygen from the surface down to the deep sea, which allows life to even exist down there. It completely shapes our weather patterns, our ecosystems. Really, it dictates where and how life can thrive on Earth. So, this entire system, from your backyard all the way down to the deep ocean, is this incredibly powerful but delicate engine. And we know that with a warming planet, that engine is starting to change. So the big question we're all left with is, as the key ingredients of temperature and salinity shift, what happens next? What does that mean for our planet's climate and for all of us?